Man, I am so tired of hearing how people think that we need to tax the rich more. But see, here in this video, we're going to talk about exactly why taxing the rich will never work. Okay, so let's just get straight into it. So the first thing that we need to understand about this is, we only really understand probably about 20 pages of the tax code. And when I say we, I'm talking about the general populace, right? People who don't really educate themselves on taxes. Hell, to be quite honest, most CPAs and maybe, other tax professionals probably don't know the extent of the tax code, which is why we see specialty tax services out there, right? You have tax specialists for syndication, tax specialists for estate planning and asset protection, tax specialists for cost segregation, and so many more things. Because if we really think about it, there's over 6,000 pages. Now, to be fair, there's been all kinds of arguments out there and different reports saying that the tax code is 60,000 pages. Some estimate over 70,000 pages. But what we've seen, right, in the actual IRS code, is probably about 6,000 pages. It's a little confusing here or there, but nonetheless, imagine 6,000 or 60,000. If we only know 20, we only know a fraction of this entire puzzle. Now, if we were really to boil this down, why do we think the rich get taxed lower than we do? Well, they know more of the tax code. It's just that simple, right? Maybe they don't know it themselves inherently, but they have the money to hire the right people. Oftentimes when you hear people say, hey, tax the rich, it's kind of misconstrued, because what they're thinking is, oh, the rich is making this much money, so we should be able to tax them at the same tax rates that we're paying, or even higher tax rates. But here's the problem with it, right? So let's go ahead and take income as an example. We go to work, we get a job, we pay taxes on our income. Same concept that the rich would do, right? So the highest rate that we would pay on taxes on the US tiered system for a single tax filer is going to be 37%. And in order for us to even achieve that bracket, we have to earn an income of over $578,000, which means after everything's tiered up and separated, we've paid about $174,000 up to that 578, and then 37% on anything above and beyond that. So let's say somebody earned $1 million, which a lot of these wealthy people are earning, right? Well, if they earned an income of over $1 million, that means they'll pay that $288,025, but then they'll also pay the 37% on everything above that $578,000, right? Which is a tax amount around $156,093.38. So if we add that collectively, that means they're paying a total in taxes of $330,381.63. Now that is a lot of money. Now some may say, oh, that's not enough. They're making billions. Well, we can do the same math there and you can see how it would increase. How many of us, right, when I say us, maybe small business owners or just the everyday individual, how many of us pay $330,000 in taxes? It's not many. But if that's the case, right? We were just talking about income. Well, how do you think the wealthy are kind of avoiding this? You got it right. They're not taking an income. Now, yes, they may be taking an income, but you have to understand, as a business owner, right? When I own my business, I could earn whatever amount that the company earns, but I can choose to pay myself a personal salary of whatever I need. Now, definitely talk to your CPA because there's some stipulations around it. Some of the laws say that, hey, yes, you need to make sure that you're paying yourself a reasonable salary for that position. So if you're a CEO and you wanted to go out and hire another CEO, how much would you be able to hire them for, right? So maybe let's call it 100,000, 150,000, depending on the company size, maybe more, right? All that's fine and dandy. But that's the income. But you know what? I can also just say, hey, look, it's just me. I'm cool. I only need $30,000 a year. Or I can say, you know what? I'm not the CEO. I'm a member of the board. I've hired a CEO out here. I want no salary at all. Matter of fact, some of you may have remembered that Elon Musk did this with Tesla, right? He forgoed a salary for quite some time. And in exchange for the salary, he actually just paid himself in stock options, right? Where he had all of these shares at low prices, whenever it started, maybe it was $6 a share, whatever the case is. And then over time, as the value of Tesla increased, well, the value of his options also increased. And you know how he worked that little loophole there? Well, as soon as it increased to billions of dollars, instead of him actually selling the stock and getting a taxable event, he just took a loan against the stock, right? He can take a loan and spread, right, a margin loan, and take this money and invest it somewhere else, pay back that loan and continue to, right? Or if the stock continues to increase, he can just refinance the loan with another loan and just continue on and on again. So you can see that the rich, they really understand how this tax game is played. That's the main difference. So even if we wanted to tax the rich more and we wanted to really go at them, guys, there's 6,000 pages in there they can navigate to understand how to protect their money. I mean, but we all can. Now, here's why we can't change it. Because we have to understand that most of those laws are generated around things that the government wants you to do to prop up the economy. So there's a tax attorney that I like to study. I read a lot of his books. His name is Tom Wheelwright. Now, Tom Wheelwright says, if you want to know what the government wants you to do, read the tax code. And I can't think of a more truer statement than that. So let's think about this. What does the government want you to do? What does it want all of these wealthy individuals to do? Well, they want you to start a business. Why? Well, hell, more spending, right, increases the economy. It props up the economy. So that's number one. But number two, let's think about this. If I have more employees that are on W-2, wouldn't their salaries be taxed? By having more employees, more individuals earning money to have to pay taxes, well, the IRS or the government, they get more money too. So by having more employees or more contractors or more vendors that have to earn money from you, well, they got to pay taxes on it too. So guess what? The government, again, receives more money. That's exactly what they want you to do. What are some other things the government wants you to do? Well, there's an affordable housing crisis right now. They want more people in houses. So they have a ton of different tax benefits, tax credits, tax write-offs for real estate investors. So you hear the word business and you hear the word real estate investor, and all of a sudden we realize that, hey, this is not just for the wealthy. This is for all business owners, all people who are moving in the direction that the government wants us to move, right? Providing a lot of that value back into the economy. So if we actually change the tax code to then impact the rich, what really happens is we actually affect all small business owners. Now, I know for a fact, all my small business owners here watching this channel, none of us want to pay more in tax. Absolutely not. Right? We got into business for one reason or another, but one of the benefits is the ability to utilize that tax code. So all of these other individuals who are upset with it, we have to start to change our lens, change the lens that we're looking through at this problem. I mean, even at the end of the day, let's say you made $1 million and you paid 37% above that 578, and you paid roughly about 330,000. We have to realize that Elon Musk and Bill Gates, they still pay millions, hundreds of millions, maybe even billions in taxes. They do. But when we look at the amount of money that they generate, it might be a smaller portion. It might be 5%. It might be 10%, something to that effect. But it is still substantially more than any of the average society or the average population would pay. So let's talk about what some of us small business owners can do to where we can get some of the benefits of the wealthy, but we can still give back to the community to where maybe they feel this is a good middle ground from just taxing the rich. So what you'll see in any large corporation or any large family office, typically we have the business being generated, we have the investment side of the house, but most of these are also going to have a philanthropic side of the house, right? Something to give back to the community, a charity or a nonprofit organization. Bill Gates is one of the obvious ones with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Now, this is all for a reason. Now, yes, it is meant to give back to the local community or to these other communities and help kind of bolster up the economy and the life value of individuals. But there's also a huge tax play here. Without diving into it too much, now be sure to check with your CPA, but there are some opportunities for where every $1 of charitable contribution or donation can be represented by a $3 to $6 tax write-off. So I mean, really imagine that. So a $5,000 contribution could in turn potentially get you $15,000 worth of a tax write-off. Now, these are things that are important, right? Because obviously we want to give back to the local communities that support our businesses. So maybe it's to the Boys and Girls Club, maybe it's setting up a nonprofit to help feed the homeless, maybe whatever the case is. But this is a way where we can benefit as small business owners and contribute back to society, right? To really kind of mend some of the concerns that people have about taxing the rich. Another one that is often considered among small business owners, but it's providing benefits to our employees. And by benefits, I'm not just saying like dental and health and whatnot, but really investing into our employees, potentially helping provide funding for their education if they want to go to college, or maybe helping educate them on financial literacy, or helping them establish a whole life cash value policy or a self-directed 401k, or maybe we can contribute to their 401ks, right? I mean, even as business owners, guys, we don't have to necessarily have the 401k provider all kind of in-house and have no control. We can still offer to match a 401k contribution, even if it's in their self-directed 401k, right? We can do those things. So there are so many different ways where we can try to add value back, not only to the people that help us grow as far as internally in the company, but externally as well back into the company. See, the real key here, I think, is one, we have to increase the level of education that we have around taxes. That's first and foremost, because it's not just about taxing income, and that is a misconception amongst many of the ignorant. Right? What we also need to do is help to create a sustainable economy by empowering small businesses to understand how they can leverage some of these tax codes to give back. And how do we do that? Again, if we want to know what the government wants us to do, all we got to do is read the tax code. Now, if you don't really geek out on tax codes and you don't want to read it, then be sure to subscribe here, where we are going to talk about a lot of different topics. And if we need to deep dive into anything, we can. So please put in the comments below if there's a certain topic or a certain concern that you have. And guys, if I don't have the answer, I'll bring somebody on that does. Again, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.